Back to another session of biochemistry classes. So, pertaining to the molecular biology topic, today we'll go on to another topic which is protein targeting. So, protein targeting itself comes as a short note or a viva versa question. So, what do you understand by protein targeting? It is a mechanism by which a cell transports proteins to the appropriate position in the cell or outside of it. So there are pathways by which the proteins are sorted out and transported to their proper cellular location and are referred to as protein targeting or sorting pathways. So proteins can be targeted to the inner space of an organelle, to the different intracellular membranes, to the plasma membrane, or to the exterior of the cell via secretions. So the correct sorting is crucial for the cell because if there are any errors, it can lead to certain diseases. So the protein targeting system depends on the short sequence of amino acids called as a signal sequence at the amino terminus of a newly synthesized polypeptide chain. There are two mechanisms by which the sorting takes place. So the first one is the protein is synthesized in the cytoplasm and then the completed protein is delivered to its intracellular location by post translationally, and the protein is destined for to the nucleus or to the mitochondria and to the peroxisome and are delivered by this process. And then you have the secretory pathway. This directs the proteins into the endoplasmic reticulum by co-translationally, that is while the protein is being synthesized. So 30% of the proteins are sorted out by this pathway, and these include the secretory proteins that enters into the Golgi apparatus or the complex, the lysosomes, and also the internal membrane proteins. So you can classify the protein targeting mechanism into two: the cytoplasmic, that is post translational transport, and then you have the rough endoplasmic reticulum by co-translational transport. So the cytoplasmic mechanism is they go into the mitochondrial protein, the nuclear protein, peroxismal protein, cytosolic proteins. Then you have it enters into the rough endoplasmic reticulum by co-translational transport by the vesicle transport to the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi complex. So these enter into the secretory proteins, the lysosomal enzymes, the plasma membrane proteins, the Golgi apparatus, and the endoplasmic reticulum membrane. Okay, so this is the different mechanism by which the proteins are sorted or targeted. There are, along with this, there are a number of diseases which are associated with protein targeting and sorting. So these disorders can be again classified into many types. So the disorders due to the defect in the mitochondrial targeting signals you have is a primary hyperoxaluric type 1, and then you have the pyruvate dehydrogenase deficiency. So in primary hyperoxaluric type 1, the alanine glyoxylate aminotransferase enzyme 1, or we also call it as AGT, deficiency is there. This leads to mistargeting of the to the mitochondria, leading to primary hyperoxaluria type 1. So this leads to glyoxylate being oxidized to oxalate and deposition of the calcium oxalate in the kidney, leading to urinary tract obstruction, and it leads to renal failure. Then you have the pyruvate dehydrogenase deficiency. There is defect in the mitochondrial targeting signal causing mutation in the NMTS, one of the subunits of the mitochondrial matrix protein complex, and this leads to the PDH deficiency, leading to primary lactic acidosis in the infants and in the children. So this is the first, that is the mitochondrial targeting signal defect. Next you have is another one, that is disorders due to defect in the peroxismal matrix protein import. So here you have the paroxysmal biogenesis disorder, okay, that is PBD. This refers to disorders in the Zellweger spectrum. So this includes a Zellweger syndrome, the most severe. Then you have the neonatal adrenoleukodystrophy and also the infantile Refsum's disease. So these are autosomal recessive metabolic disorders and are characterized by abnormal peroxisome assemble, and also the function of the peroxisome is abnormal, right? So then you have another disorder which we call it as a eye cells disease. This is a very rare condition in which the lysosomes lack all the normal lysosomal enzymes. So here it is characterized by severe progressive psychomotor retardation and a variety of physical signs which leads to the death in the first decade only. So the lysosomes accumulates in different types of ungraded molecules forming inclusion bodies, or we also call it as eye cells. Okay, so the mannose 6 phosphate is a marker enzyme and it is decreased in these patients, and also deficient levels of you have N-acetyl glucosamine 1 phosphate transferase enzyme. This lacks of this enzyme which is specific to the mannose residue of certain lysosomal enzyme, and this cannot target to the lysosome. So this causes accumulation of inclusion bodies in the lysosome. Okay, so this is called as eye cells disease. This is one of the protein targeting disorders, right? So this is about the protein targeting. Next, we'll go on to understand something which we call it as polyribosomes or polysomes. So these are ribosomes, many of them, which can be translated to the same mRNA molecule simultaneously. So this ribosome bounds to the mRNA and it is called as a polyribosome or polysome. Increases the efficiency of the utilization of the mRNA, the polysomes, and the ribosomes in this unit operates independently and each synthesizes a complete polypeptide chain. So there are two classes of polysomes, those that are free in the cytoplasm and those that are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, and we call that as a rough endoplasmic reticulum. So the protein synthesized on the ribosomes get attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, travel in the vesicles to the Golgi complex. And these vesicles may become lysosomes or also the secretory vesicles. And these secretory vesicles are ultimately extruded into the extracellular space from the cell by exocytosis. Okay, so polysomes or polyribosomes comes as a short note. So you'll have to know what it is, give the definition and give the different types of polysomes and what are the functions of it, right? Next, pertaining to protein targeting, you should know something which we call it as chaperones. So chaperones are, so after the exit of a protein, after the synthesis from the endoplasmic reticulum, this is a rate limiting step. So here you have certain proteins that we call as a chaperones, which have an important role in the assemble and proper folding of the synthesized proteins so that it has a proper or the active biological activity. These chaperones, they belong to a large family of proteins which we call it as heat shock proteins, or we also call it as HSPs. So any stress to the cell like radiation, heavy metal, free radicals, toxins, etc. would lead to the release of these proteins, and thus we call it as the stress proteins. Now how does this chaperone function? The mechanism of action. So most of the chaperones exhibit ATPase activity and binds to the ADP and ATP. Okay, so this activity is important in their effect on the proper folding of the proteins. So ADP chaperone complex has high affinity for unfolded protein, which when bound simultaneously stimulates the release of ADP with the replacement of ATP. Now this ATP chaperone complex in turn releases segment of the protein that have folded properly, and the cycle involving the ADP and ATP binding repeats until the folded protein is released. So this is the mechanism. So here ADP chaperone and ATP chaperone takes turn and leads to folding and unfolding of the big polypeptide, long polypeptide chain. So there are certain examples of the chaperones. Okay, so you have a number of them. BIP, that is immunoglobulin heavy chain binding protein. This is located in the lumen of the endoplasmic reticulum, binds to abnormally folded immunoglobulin heavy chain and prevents them from the endoplasmic reticulum in which they are degraded. And then you have Calinex. This is located in the endoplasmic reticulum membrane. It binds to the monoglucose related species of the glycoproteins that occur during the processing of the glycoproteins and helps in the folding of the endoplasmic reticulum until the glycoprotein is formed, right? And then you have another protein disulfide isomerase, or we also call it as PDI. It is an enzyme chaperone which promotes rapid reshuffling of the disulfide bonds until the correct folding is achieved. Then you have PPI, that is peptidyl propyl cis trans isomerase, that is enzyme chaperones on which it accelerates folding of the proteins. Okay, so these are the different types of examples of chaperone. So when we talk about protein folding, protein targeting, we should also know about chaperones. And then when we know something about chaperones, you should know a disease which is connected to the proteins, that is Alzheimer's disease. Now Alzheimer's disease, it occurs in the old age and it is the fourth largest leading cause of death among aged people after myocardial infarction, stroke and cancer. So the clinical features in Alzheimer's is it is characterized by slow progression of memory loss, hallucinations, then there is personality changes, dementia, and finally the patient enters into a vegetative state with no comprehension of the outside world. So the pathophysiological changes here are the disease is characterized by pathologically by neurofibril tangles in the CNS, formation of senile neuritic plaques and cerebral amyloid deposits, right? So what are the biochemical changes in these patients? The neurofibril tangles are paired helical filaments made up of abnormal TOU proteins. So these normal TAU proteins is soluble and catabolized easily, but abnormal TAU protein which are found in this condition is insoluble and cannot be degraded by the catheps and are deposited around the neurons. So this is the biochemical changes. The soluble protein, TAU protein, becomes insoluble and it cannot be degraded by the cathepsin and it is deposited around the neurons. Now the role of chaperone enzymes, the PIN1 is necessary for the formation of the normal TAU protein, but absence of the PIN1 in this condition leads to abnormal TAU protein, and deposition of the insoluble TAU protein leads to the loss of microtubule, thus damages the communication between the channels in the nerve fibers. So this leads to reduced synthesis of acetylcholine, leading to memory loss. Then you have formation of neuritic plaques are found to be deposited deposition due to deposition of abnormal amyloid protein beta APP, which we call it as amyloid precursor protein, which is derived from the normal amyloid precursor protein. There is mutation in the gene leads to the formation of the beta APP from the wrong cleavage of the amyloid precursor protein. So beta amyloid precursor protein is precipitated around the neurons and it forms the beta amyloid. So this is another findings of Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so Alzheimer's disease also can come as a short note. So you'll have to know a little bit about the protein foldings, the chaperones little bit, and then describe about the Alzheimer's disease, right? Next, we'll go on to another disease which is also connected to the protein foldings, which we call it as a prion and the prion diseases. Okay, so these are infectious proteins that contains no nucleic acid, and abnormal prions causes severe fatal neurodegenerative disorders known as the transmission spongiform encephalopathies, or we also call it as prion disease, or we call it as TSES. Okay, so there are a different two isoforms of the prions. Okay, that is the normal or the physiological prions. Okay, that consists of 253 amino acids, and it is found in the leukocytes and the nerve cells. And these genes of this is located in the short arm of the chromosome 20. It is heat sensitive and protease sensitive. Okay, so this is the normal prions. And then you have the abnormal or the pathological prions. These are heat resistant and protease resistant, associated with prion diseases. So the defect here is it involves alteration of the alpha helical structure into the beta pleated sheet. So the prion disease manifests as genetic infectious or sporadic disorders, and it affects both animals and humans, and it is transmitted by the protein alone, and it is not involving the DNA or the RNA. So clinically, it is a progressive disease which leads to dementia, and in this you have neurological defects and the patient has ataxia. So the pathological changes are characterized by spongiform changes, astrocytic gliosis, and neuronal loss resulting in deposition of insoluble proteins and amyloid fibrils. So here the pathological prions is seen rich in the beta sheets with the hydrophobic amino-acyl side chains, which is exposed to the solvent, which forms insoluble protease resistant aggregates. Okay, so these are the changes, pathological changes in the prion disease. So this prion disease also can come as a short note along with protein targeting. Okay, so then we'll go on to another very short note that can be asked for your exam, which we call it as mitochondrial DNA, right? So what is mitochondrial DNA? Contains mitochondrial DNA. It constitutes about 1% of the total cellular DNA. It is present as a double-stranded circular DNA consisting of 16,569 BPS. 2 to 10 copies of this DNA are present in the mitochondria. So it is made up of 67 peptides and are found in the mitochondria. It has got 54 genes which are coded by the nuclear DNA. 13 polypeptide chains are coded by the mitochondrial DNA. So the 7 subunits of complex 1 of the ETC, cytochrome B of complex 3 of the ETC, and 3 subunits of cytochrome oxidase enzyme, and 2 subunits of ATP synthase complex. Okay, so these are the codes which are coded by the mitochondrial DNA. So all the mitochondrial rRNA and 22 tRNAs are coded by the mitochondrial DNA, and mitochondrial DNA contains very little untranslated DNA, and the mitochondrial genetic code is different for 4 codons as compared to the nuclear DNA, and this mitochondrial DNA has 5 to 10 times high mutation rate than the nuclear DNA, and the human mitochondrial DNA is contributed by the ovum during the zygotic formation, so transmitted by the maternal non-Mendelian inheritance. So there are several diseases that are due to the mutation of the mitochondrial DNA, and some of them are myoclonic epilepsy. Then you have the mitochondrial encephalopathy with lactic acidosis and stroke, which we call it as a MELAS, MELAS. And then we have the Leber hereditary optic neuropathy, which we also call it as LHON, etc. are the other mitochondrial diseases that are connected to this mutation. And then you have the mitochondria are mostly contributed by the ovum. So the mitochondrial DNA diseases are transmitted by the mother to all her children, but only the daughters will pass on the trait. Okay, so this is about the mitochondrial DNA. So mitochondrial DNA is also asked as a question, and then you should also know about the diseases which are connected to the mitochondrial DNA. So in this class we finished with the protein targeting, the pathways in the protein targeting, the diseases which are connected to protein targeting, that is chaperones also we looked into, and also we looked into Alzheimer's disease, then the prions disease, right? And then we studied about the mitochondrial DNA. So that's it for today's class. We will meet in another class. Thank you. Have a nice day.